The world will be watching St. Louis. The best in the U.S. The best in the world. Only one will be king. The Sinquefield Cup. Information at stlouischessclub.org.
This year's Sinquefield Cup is the strongest chess tournament ever. We have the highest average rating in history, with 6 of the top 10 players in the world participating. And that includes world number 1, Magnus Carlsen, also the defending champion from last year's Sinquefield Cup. The very best in chess competing today at the St. Louis Chess Club for the 2014 Sinquefield Cup. And our complete coverage from first move to winning move starts right now.
Should I start?
Yes.
I'm Caruana. I'm here in St. Louis, about to play the Sinquefield Cup, the strongest tournament ever. This is my ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I was challenged by Anish Giri, and I would like now to challenge Maurice Ashley, Yasser Serouan, and Levon Aronian.
All right, one moment.
Oh, shit.
Checkmate.
Oh, man.
That was awesome.
I officially feel terrible.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can we do it again?
Yeah.
Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. This is the third and last game from round 1 of the second annual Sinquefield Cup 2014. The highest rated tournament ever in the history of chess. And I'm proud to say it's right in the central United States, in the Midwest, in St. Louis, Missouri, at the Chess Club and Scholastic Center there. Great place. Everyone want to visit it or donate to there. It's it's a great place. You go to uschesschamps.com and it'll give you the info on any donations. Anyway, folks, this is between Veselin Topalov from Bulgaria, former world champion as white, and Fabiano Caruana, one of the few players ever to maintain a 2800 rating and above. Fabiano is Italian-American, representing Italy. Let's get to it. Topalov is white, Caruana is black. It's going to be a symmetrical English, so I'll just go through the first few moves here in the opening. Knight takes, bishop g2. Interesting though, he plays knight to c7, which is an interesting, must be some kind of home preparation, because it's knight takes c3 and g6 are the two top moves, followed by e6. He moves the knight, castles, Caruana goes e5, a3. I think somehow this is Caruana's preparation. It's not as exciting opening as the other two games, but it's a very interesting game nonetheless. White's a little cramped, oddly enough, and that's interesting. The d-pawn hasn't moved, the dark squared bishop's still stuck. Granted, black hasn't moved this dark squared bishop, it hasn't castled yet, but white's got a tiny advantage, but I think black's a lot easier to play. Rook b8, d3, bishop e3 is finally getting to some development. Black castles, rook to c1, normal stuff, putting your rook in a semi-open file on the c file. Right here, semi-open because there's only one pawn missing on your side. An open file would be with all pawns are missing on the file. Bishop d7, just developing. Knight to d2. Now, it's dead even on the computer I have off screen, but I gotta tell you, I like black's position here, frankly. Knight, F6. Interesting move. That's also the computer move. Now, us amateurs like myself and the vast majority of people that watch these videos, quarter of a pawn here, a third of a pawn there, nobody really cares. But these guys, it's a big deal. If you're in the opening and you're a pawn ahead or larger in score, you've done extremely well. F4, just opening it right up. That one, it's the computer's choice, but I'll tell you, I just don't like it opening like that. But he takes, bishop takes. Knight hitting the bishop. Bishop goes back to D2. Now, I'm not real keen. This pawn here is causing a lot of hassle for this pawn and this pawn. White's got to do something to get rid of that pawn. B6. G4. That was a move that I was really stunned at, and so are the commentators. They always say G4 alert. Well, that's usually in the Sicilian when you have a G4 and you're castling on the queen side. G4. And any advantage White had is pretty much gone now. It's back down to 0. Bishop E8. Bishop goes to E1. Now it's a tiny, when I say tiny, somewhat a third of a pawn advantage for black. White's kind of blowing this, and I'm really surprised because Vestal and Topalov, yeah, we're all getting older, that's for sure, but the guy's a former world champion. I don't know where he went wrong here, but he's just too passive. B5, hitting the knight. Knight goes to E3. Bishop D6. And knight goes up to D5. That's a damn good spot for that knight. Knight takes. Bishop takes, pinning the knight. Bishop F7. Interesting, interesting. I like black here. I really do. His pieces are a lot more active than they were before. It's just easier to play for black. Now this is the part of the game where I have trouble sometimes. It's White's move. We're on move 22 for White. What would you do here as White? I think the move he made was the obvious move, and that's knight F5. But he moved the bishop. Now, that exposes the challenge to the light squared bishop here. What to do, what to do. Queen here. Now, why can't black take this? As we all say, knight here checks, wins the queen. So that bishop isn't really hanging. Knight to D4. Bishop takes. Rook takes. Black's starting to untangle. That's a strong knight on D4 for black. It looks like his pieces are starting to coordinate a little bit better. And look at the backward pawn on E2. Two of his central pawns almost on their starting squares. Not good. I don't know what's going on with Topalov today. He's such a good player. Former world champion. Rook to D1. Of course, we see why, because the next move, the knight forks. Knight takes. G takes. Queen to D4 check. Now look at that exposed white king. I think it was a mistake earlier when he played G4. Could he have saw this far? No. It's just some principles you're just not supposed to break, and there are reasons for it. There are always exceptions to the rule, but this certainly wasn't one of them. F2. Queen to G4 check. Now we're looking at an almost 2-point advantage for black. It's getting crunch time here for white. He's in a lot of trouble. King moves. And Caruana plays a great move here. C4. If he had taken the F-pawn instead, after bishop takes, queen to H3, E3, and I think white can survive this now. But unfortunately, he went C4, queen to C2. And now the hole is getting bigger and bigger for Topalov. Rook e8. And this is where I think Topalov as white miscues badly. e4 was the suggested move for white. He plays d takes. And it's almost a 3-point advantage now for black. If he went e4, queen f3, king g1, he might be able to survive that, but I doubt it. But it's much better than the scenario he had. After d takes, queen to h5, h4. I mean, what else can he do? Bishop g1 and h4 are the two suggested moves by the computer. That's how bad his position is. h4, queen to g4, queen to d3. C takes leads to check, king g1, mate. So he couldn't take the pawn. After queen to d3, bishop takes, queen to e3, rook f to e7. Here it comes. Look at the power coming down the e file. b3, bishop b2, and this is where Veselin Topalov, former world champion from Bulgaria, resigns. They give you an idea what would have happened after queen to f3, queen takes, e takes, c3, and he can't stop the pawn. Rook can't go here. This pawn will take. No matter what the rook does, the next move is this, and that pawn is going to queen. So that's where Topalov resigned. Tough break for Veselin. Hats off to Fabiano Caruana, who after one round is now leading the tournament. Everybody else drew. Anyway, that's the third game from round one of the second annual Sinquefield Cup 2014. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a great tournament. Out of the top 9 players in the world, 6 of them are here. Wow, wow, wow. I think the only 3 they're missing is Anand, Karyakin, and Kramnik. Anyway, folks, I just want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen. With Italian-American Fabiano Caruana, we want to claim him, of course, because he's got one Italian parent and one American parent. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How you like it so far in St. Louis? Does the weather seem to agree with you?
Well, today it was crazy. I think it was hailing outside.
It was?
It was incredibly loud during the game, but I think it'll be pretty refreshing now. It's probably cooled down quite a bit.
Didn't seem to bother you. You ended up winning your game after all.
Yeah, well, I mean, the noise was a bit disturbing, but I felt like my position was good, so I wasn't too worried.
You had this solid position. He started making some interesting moves, let's call them, a little bit loosening. He played f4, and then he brought his bishop back to d2. Then he played this move, g4. Were you surprised by that option?
Yeah, g4 surprised me a little bit, although it's very logical because he wants to get his bishop on the very important diagonal, where he can pin my knight on c7 and my rook, and there's no way to go from f4, so he has to kind of maneuver his bishop a bit. And it also tries to grab some space. Of course, it's a pretty risky move. As we saw in the game, it ended up pretty badly. His king was terribly open. But during the game, I thought it was an interesting move.
He played very solidly in the middle, and then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. I mean, his position just fell apart suddenly.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised myself, because I wasn't really playing for an advantage. I mean, I thought it was very unclear. I thought my position was okay, but I didn't really think I was better. And suddenly, after knight d4, I have an enormous advantage, almost out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Why is it that black wins all your games? You guys don't like the white pieces?
I haven't checked the statistics, but yeah, I'll take your word on that. And no, I mean, it's just because we both kind of try to fight for the initiative with either color, and anything can happen in our games. I mean, he was playing very aggressively from the start, maybe a bit risky, and it didn't work out.
Well, it looks as though you're the tournament leader after the first round. What does it feel like to be leading the strongest tournament in history? It still makes us have goosebumps. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's only one round. I mean, there's still an incredibly long way to go. Anything can happen. tomorrow anything can happen in any of the days. So I wouldn't get too comfortable just yet. But it's nice to start with a win, especially with black.
That's an understatement. Well, congratulations on your victory, and best of luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thanks.
Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana, number 3 in the world. As you said, Jen, maybe number 2 in the world right now. He's got a lot of fight ahead of him in this, the first round, guys.